You miss 1 week and there's a new guy.
That's the technical difficulty.
Or no.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I have no idea how to use it. I literally got it hours ago.
They will collect data on you. They will collect data on us.
Yep, I heard that too.
I think his daughter. No.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting of your Newark City Council, June 21st to order. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Labutus?
Present.
Mr. Lang?
Present.
Mr. Marmy?
Present.
Mr. Rath?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mr. Barker?
Here.
Ms. Blind?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Hollinger? Here. Mr. Hauser?
Here.
We have all here are present this evening. If you please stand for the invocation by Ms. Blind, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Blind.
Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful evening, God. Lord, help us, God. Lord, we need your wisdom and your insight. Thank you, Lord, that you want us to see as you see, God. And so we want to be in alignment with your purposes and your mind in everything we do and say. Lord, thank you for this great country, God. Thank you for this city. Thank you for those who keep us safe. And Lord, please keep them safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Blind.
Get rid of that.
Next, we have caucus. That's the time for council to discuss anything pertaining to the agenda tonight. Do we have anything? No? Okay. Next, we have the minutes of our June 6, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion by Mr. Labutus, second by Mr. Hauser. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. We have a few appointments this evening. By Mayor Hall, reappointing Megan Evans, Reverend Michael Noble, and Bob German to the Human Relations Commission. Appointments to begin July 7th, 2022 and expire July 6th, 2026. Subsequent appointments will be for 4 years. I believe, since the mayor's not here, Mr. Harris is chairman of that committee. Would you like to add anything?
Sure. Just want to say that all three of these folks are really good people. They're really involved in the community and they do a lot for our community. So I'm glad they're back on this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions from anyone? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. We have 3 reports this evening from standing committees, one from finance, one from service, and one from streets. Without objection, those will be received and filed. Under reports from city officials, we have 2 this evening, one from our auditor, Ryan Bubb, the operating report for the period ending May 31st, 2022, and Brenda Cooper, the tax administration's office, the income tax revenue reports for the period ending May 31st, 2022. Without objection, those will be received and filed. We have 3 communications this evening, as you can see there. One actually was about the Amateur Radio Day. The Amateur Radio Relay League Field Day, June 25th, noon to 5 at Forest Hill Park. One is about the Hope Behind the Badge kickoff beginning with Community Day on June 18th, which was last week, from 10 to 2. And the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, a new liquor permit for 69 West Church Street. Without objection, those will be received and filed. Next on the agenda, we have comments from citizens. There are 2 places from comments. One is now and one is after the legislation. This is not a debate or a question and answer period with council. This is your chance to be heard. If anyone would like to speak, if you please raise your hand and we'll call you up in order. Anyone like to speak this first section? Again, come on up, sir. Again, there's another section after the legislation. If you just give us your name and address for the record. Would anybody else like to speak this first section? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Jeff Mulligan, 494 Beacon Road, Newark, Ohio. Just here to speak on the Roost on the River on Saturday night. It was a lot better than in the past. I didn't hear the first part of it. I had a neighbor lady message me. We were in Columbus at the time. She asked me where the music was coming from. And I told her, I said, I'll give you numbers when I get back home. So when we came back, it was pretty quiet. I mean, most part of the day, it was pretty reasonable. The loudest part of it that I heard when we were home was 11 to 12 o'clock
In the evening.
in the evening. Had somebody not slept with an air conditioner on in their bedroom or a fan, there was no way anybody was gonna sleep. I have a hard time trying to sleep anyway. And my wife, she'd already went to bed when the quiet time was on it, so she was good to go. She was already in deep sleep. And when I came in to go to sleep, even with the fan on and our boom, boom, until they shut it down. So yes, the noise was a lot better, but why they waited till 11, 12 o'clock to turn it up, I don't have a clue. All I have.
Thank you. Sir, would you like to speak?
Thomas Brenner, 419 South Second Street. Mine's on Roost on the River also. I invited several council members up. As a matter of fact, all of them. I had Mr. Hauser, Ms. Blind, Mr. Labatus, Mr. Harris, Mr. Barker, and our law director, Ms. Moore, at the house. They was there twice. I think Ms. Moore was there once. And the first time they come, it was acceptable. It was still loud, but acceptable. The second time, it was a little louder. Then the third time, around 10:30, Mr. Hauser come back along with Officer Lake, and they took another reading, and it was up more. The profanity was ridiculous. Every other word out of their mouth was the F word. I've got a 6-year-old great granddaughter that was swimming in the swimming pool. I got a 3-year-old great grandson swimming in the swimming pool, and I got a 1-year-old great grandson. We was all on the back deck. This is unacceptable language. So we need to, I'm asking the council to do something about this. I mean, this gentleman's getting by with doing things he shouldn't. And the second thing on my agenda is my theory when I was growing up. Sidewalks was for walking, streets was for parking. We have a problem in the neighborhood with some neighbors parking across the sidewalks. Okay, we have kids on bicycles that go down those sidewalks. And I live up on the hill on 2nd Street. Some of those kids, if they're going down that sidewalk, they ain't gonna get stopped before they hit that vehicle. I called Newark PD. It took them 1 hour and 10 minutes to come out. We had one parked across the sidewalk on my side of the road. We had one parked in a no parking zone on the other side of the road on the sidewalk. The officer drove up the hill, went around the block, drove up the hill again, went around the block, and then come back down the hill and never once stopped where the car was parked where it said no parking. The other truck had moved. So we need, I mean, I know there's an ordinance about parking on the sidewalk. If it's a bicycle or a motorcycle, you can get around that. But a truck or a car, you cannot do that. And we have a lot of little kids, a lot of people that walk their dogs and children. So that needs to be addressed also. So I'd appreciate it if it could. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave? Anybody else would like to speak this first section?
It said, is this in regards to any noise?
It's regarding anything you want to say? No? Yeah. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, but I'll.
Okay.
No, you got it.
Dave Doney, 231 John Reese Parkway, Tascoa. I just wanted to come down and thank City Council. I had sent an email to Mayor Hall and Directors Hickman and Rhodes and to Superintendent Hotchkiss for the Strawberry Festival. It was fantastic. It is the largest festival we've ever had. So I just wanted to, on behalf of Newark, Kiwanis, come down and thank everybody who helped. I know it's an inconvenience for folks on that side of East Main Street, but it was just fantastic, and I really appreciate everything that the city does to support us, so thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Yeah, sorry, I've never been to one before.
That's okay. No problem. Just give us your name and address to the record.
Okay, my name is Jody Sullivan. I live at 356 West Main Street. And I'm here to address the noise. We're getting hit. We go directly across from the North Station. And we're getting slammed. We can't sleep, we can't talk, we can't watch TV, nothing in our living rooms. We can't go outside. The neighbors have made multiple complaints to their landlords. They tell them to call. They've tried that. They say that they're not breaking like their time limit or whatever. Last summer, we spent endless amounts of time calling. They said they had special event permits. There was nothing they could do. They said that it was after a certain hour, so there again, nothing they could do. They would go over, send officers, ask them to turn it down, couldn't make them. We're at our wits' end. We get, I mean, it's like percussion and the walls shake, the glass shakes. It's horrible. I didn't know anything about it until last night when she stopped. And there's multiple people that would have been here had we had, known prior. I got one citizen that couldn't, from 3 doors down, I believe it is, that wrote a letter because she said that if somebody wanted to speak, and they just wrote, hello, the loud music and constant noise coming from across the streets have been very inconvenient for my family. The music is blaring until late hours of the night and constant yelling caused by the kids, cursing, not able to sleep at night. My dog during the day, I'm not used to say. My dog is constantly barking due to thinking someone's outside our house. Sometimes it's so loud that I can hear it over my television. We cannot even open our windows or air to get fresh air without the blaring noise coming from there. When we moved to this neighborhood, it was because it was a nice, quiet place to live and raise our family. Lately, it seems like nothing short of a constant party next door that has no respect for anyone and its impact. With the new additions that are supposed to be added, it's only going to get worse and more loud. And this is from Jennifer Watson of 350 West Main. And my husband as well is disabled, and he has to sleep. He's got multiple conditions. He has to sleep when he can sleep, and this has taken a horrible toll. Our dogs are freaked out constantly because it sounds like somebody is literally like banging the walls, and they think it sounds like someone's coming in the back door, front door. You just can't get away from it. We can't air out our house. We can't open our windows. We can't sit on our deck. Can't sit on the front porch. It's really ridiculous. And one of the tenants that lives down the street went over and politely asked them to turn it down. He led her to believe that he was one of the guys that owned it. His reply to her was, don't worry about it. I'm gonna buy every house down the street anyway. Ariel, no remorse, no sorry, no, just deal with this. So we're asking, please.
Thank you. I know council was working on a noise ordinance. I don't know where exactly that is, but I know there are folks who are working on that, so. Okay, we're going to move on to ordinances on the second reading. There are none tonight. Again, there's one other time for citizens' comments after, so, if you want to speak again, hang around. Ordinances on the first reading, 22-18.
Ordinance number 22-18 by Mr. Barker, Mr. Rath, Mr. Marmy, Mr. Harrison, Ms. Blind, an ordinance vacating a 16 and 1/2 foot wide alley as shown on the original plat of Newark as recorded in volume 2, page 4 of the Lincoln County plat record. Said alley is located north of East Third Street between North Second Street and North Third Street.
22-18 will be held for our next meeting, which will be July 5th. We go to resolutions on the second reading, 22-48.
Resolution number 22-48 by Mr. Marmy, Mr. Barker, Mr. Rath, Ms. Blind, and Mr. Harris, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
You've heard the second reading of 22-48. What is your wish?
Mr. President.
Mr. Marmy.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-48.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Marmy,
Second.
second by Mr. Lang. Is there any discussion on 22-48? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll vote.
Mr. Labutus.
Yes.
Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Marmy.
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Blind. Yes. Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Ms. Hattiger. Yes. Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
22-48 passes 10-0. Next on the second reading, we have 22-49.
Resolution number 22-49 by Mr. Rath, Mr. Harris, Mr. Barker, Ms. Blind, and Mr. Marmy, and Mr. Ryan. A resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio to advertise for bids and enter into contracts subject to the appropriation of funds for construction of a gravity sanitary sewer on River Road from Park Trails to Thornwood Drive.
You've heard the second reading of 22-49. What is your wish?
Mr. President,
Mr. Rath.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 22-49.
Motion by Mr. Rath,
Second.
second by Mr. Harris. Is there any discussion on 22-49? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll vote.
Mr. Labutus.
Yes.
Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Marmy.
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Blind. Yes. Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Ms. Hattiger. Yes. Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
22-49 passes 10-0. And finally, on the second reading, we have 22-50.
Resolution number 22-50 by Mr. Rath, Mr. Barker, Ms. Blind, Mr. Marmy, Mr. Harris, and Mr. Ryan. A resolution authorizing the Licking County Commissioners to act as the purchasing agent and governmental aggregator for natural gas aggregation program for the city of Newark, Licking County, Ohio.
For the second reading of 22-50, what is your wish?
Mr. President,
Mr. Rath.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 22-50.
Motion by Mr. Rath,
Second.
second by Mr. Lang. Oh, is that Lang or Mr. Lang? Pick one. Any discussion on 22-50? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll vote.
Mr. Labutus.
Yes.
Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Marmy.
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Blind. Yes. Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Ms. Hattiger. Yes. Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
And 22-50 passes 10-0. Finally, tonight, we have resolutions on the first reading, 22-52.
Resolution number 22-52 by Mr. Rath, Mr. Barker, Mr. Marty, Mr. Harris, Ms. Blind, and Mr. Ryan. Resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the City of Newark for planning, design, and/or construction of wastewater facilities, 16 North Separation Project, and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan.
22-52 will be held to our next meeting on July 5th. And finally, we have 22-53.
Resolution number 22-53 by Mr. Rath, Mr. Barker, Mr. Marmy, Mr. Harris, and Ms. Blind. Resolution consenting to an enterprise zone abatement agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of Licking County, Ohio, and the Kroger Company, and authorizing the Director of Public Service to execute such agreement on behalf of the City of Newark, Ohio.
22-53, Mr. Marmy.
Make a motion to waive the 2-day reading rule of resolution 22-53.
Motion to waive the 2-day reading rule by Mr. Marmy, second by Mr. Barker. Mr. Marmy.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have to expedite this for a number of reasons. I believe everybody should have received an email indicating those to be able to meet some deadlines and construction product or the purchasing dates because of some increases that are anticipated. So we need to expedite this. I urge everybody to go ahead and vote for this.
Thank you, Mr. Marmy. Any other? Oh, we better call the roll. Call the roll to waive the 2-day reading rule. Any?
Mr. Labutus.
Yes.
Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Marmy.
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Blind. Yes. Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Ms. Hattiger. Yes. Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
2-day reading rule has been waived. Mr. Marmy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-53.
Motion adopted by Mr. Marmy, second by Mr. Lang. We have any discussion on 22-53? Mr. Marmy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I need to add the emergency clause to this. So we need to add a section 4, including that emergency clause. So then this can be expedited. It doesn't have to wait the 30-day waiting period because we would not meet that deadline.
Thank you, Mr. Marmy. Any discussion on the amendment of adding the emergency clause? Mr. Lang.
Need a second on it?
Oh, might be handy.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lang. See, you miss a week and you don't know where you're. Any discussion on 22-53 amendment? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote on the amendment.
Mr. Labutus.
Yes.
Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Marmy.
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Blind.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Ms. Hattiger.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
22-53 has been amended. Is there any other discussion on 22-53 as amended? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll vote.
Mr. Labutus.
Yes.
Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Marmy.
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Ms. Blind.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Ms. Hattiger.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
22-53 passes as amended. And that concludes the legislation tonight. Thanks for your attention. We appreciate that. We have one other opportunity for comments from citizens. Again, it's the same rules. This is not a debate with council. This is just a question and answer period. Raise your hand and I'll have you come on up. Anybody else like to speak, raise your hand so I can know. Okay, okay. Again, the same rule, name and address, please.
My name is Melinda Molden and I live at 494 Beacon Road. And I do have a concern. It's the traffic flying. We have, I'm not real savvy when it comes to vehicles and that, so we have four-wheelers, quads, and they just fly down Beacon Road, and especially vehicles, regular vehicles. And they also go behind the school behind us at Ben Franklin, and they race. And my concern is there's a lot of children on our street. If there's any way that we can have signs posted, children to play or something, because it's really getting out of hand. I know you're surprised it wasn't about Roost on the River. I wasn't going to speak, but then I thought this is a good opportunity to bring this up because it has been a concern.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Moss, 224 Green Meadow Drive. I'm sure most of you are aware that opioid settlement monies are coming to Licking County, and some of those will also probably affect people in Newark. When I first found out about the opioid settlements, I contacted the county commissioners to find out how decisions would be made and how this money will be spent in the county. Finally, about 2 weeks ago, I asked again, and I guess a committee has been formed, and I believe our law director is on that committee. And what I would like to just kind of address, we do have somebody from the health department, we had somebody from mental health and recovery, somebody from the township in Etna, and one concerned citizen. I don't remember all their names. But what's missing from when I contacted Mr. Bub about this, what I requested is that we do not have anybody with lived experience making some suggestions on how this money can be spent. We have some good programs in Licking County. Drug court does some good work, NA does good work, AA does some good work. But there are some gaps in services. And I think the people who are most aware of those are people who are directly impacted by opiate overdose. This could be parents of people who have lost children. Just a few examples of some of the gaps. About a year ago, I received a call from somebody who was at the library, basically had overdosed. They had released from the hospital. They had been administered all the Narcan they could. Finally, a hole had to be drilled in this person's shin to basically administer some more drugs. This person was just released. He was at the library and called me and said, I need help. So I attempted to call the Licking County Quick Response Team. I was told to call 211, called, they didn't know what I was talking about. So finally, I kind of asked questions. It took an hour and a half for us to finally make some contact for this person. By this time, he had left the library and we had to go find him. Another example is one of the good treatments for people who are in withdrawal from opiates is methadone. You have to drive to Columbus right now to get methadone treatment. And that means, with the price of gas, and this is prescribed methadone. So that's a gap in service. I think people with lived experience, after all, these are the people who have literally died for this money. And I think they do need to be represented. And we would be happy. We see people with lived experience every day on the corner, every Saturday. We could give you names. We could give you names of people who are parents of people. I'm not going to turn around and show you all the overdose names again on my back of my shirt. But I think these people do need to have some voice in how these monies are going to be spent. The other request, and I know I'm making another legal request, it's not for fentanyl testing strips. There is a bill now pending, and hopefully they will be approved soon. And I know it is illegal for people to live in tents in the city of Newark. But with this heat, I would just like to have some reprieve for these people. Last week at the homeless outreach, we spent 3 days giving out bottled water, not just to people who are without shelter, but to anybody who was walking down East Main Street. Salvation Army was open one day as a cooling center. Today, we started at 1 o'clock, and by 5 o'clock, we had given out over 100 bottles of water to people walking down the street. We also give out the freezer pops. So once the word got out that we were giving out freezer pops, we had a few more people. But everybody who stopped by and got water was very grateful. I had one woman who asked me what my name was, and she started to cry. I told her, I'm Linda. She said, well, I'm going to pray for you because some people need to care about us. So people could just have a reprieve from having their tents torn down when it's 90, 95 degrees. We'll be out there again tomorrow. We'll start at 1 and go to 3, and we're always there on Saturday. I do need to thank Sean Grady from EMA. He was able to supply us with water. We are a purely volunteer organization, and when you go through 100 bottles of water in a day, it can get a little pricey when you're doing it for 3 or 4 days in a row. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kim?
It's scary when someone knows your name. So I'm back.
Anybody else like to speak on the way? Okay.
Kim Blaney, 1407 Misty Glen, Newark, Ohio, born and raised in Newark. I actually would rather be at home watching Jeopardy. I'll take that person.
Well, we'd probably rather have you, but go ahead.
Thank you. We're working together on resolving those issues with the properties over there. I think we can work all this out, but I just wanted you to be aware that there's some other issues we turned up. And if the city of Newark is planning to fine us and put tax liens, we need to have some discussions. Or I don't like people who kind of insinuate or make some thing about court cases, but we may have to litigate this if we can't. But we're really close to where we want to be. But since we found some other issues recently with that particular inspector, we've now turned up because this corporation is owned by my 3 children and it's active with my son-in-law and other children and my wife. So it's our retirement and it's my 41-year project. Okay. I make jokes sometimes that it's my decathlon, and I make that in the sense that Caitlyn Jenner gives Bruce credit. That sounds strange for winning the decathlon, but Ken built Rice Street and Kim is stuck with it today. So the particular property we have audited ourselves, and my son-in-law's master's degree, and he's like the right-hand man of the police chief, and I think he'll be a police chief someday. And my son's a design director. My daughter's a vice president of a company in Chicago. My son will be up for major here soon. We're not supposed to mix.
Very nice.
So my 3 children, because of their mother, have done very well. Okay. I'm a little nervous in this room, but I would bring my children in here when they were growing up. When I was on the Parks and Recreation Board for 20 years, my mother was the tax commissioner. She worked with you for many years, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of respect for the city, but there's been some things done wrong, and it's stressed me out to the point where one day walking into this, I got so angry, and I blame myself for getting that angry. I did a somersault, and they wanted to call the squad, and I should have let them call the squad. Now I find out today, and I hope I don't get emotional saying this, but I have injured my vertebrae. So I'm sorry, I'm a little bit paralyzed from that emotional experience of how I've been treated by a particular inspector in that way. But there's some improprieties that go way back. Okay, so I will finish with the one particular one we found. The day that the backhoe showed up, and that particular inspector came out on a Tuesday and took pictures. We had already extended that tear down for another day. I was there the day before. I had the paper in my hand extending the tear down. He came out to, and I don't mean to be personal because I work with children and I'm always, but he came out Tuesday, took pictures, tried to crop out the backhoe, and it attempted, in my word, I never can understand their fines. Find me another 500 a day or two, or proposed it. I can never figure out. So there's something that went wrong the following day. And now we think there's other issues on 90 South 21st Street. And if the city of Newark is planning to put tax liens or fines, I want a full audit on that particular property. Look, I'm a nice person. I work with children. I don't want any of this. Just work with me or continue to work with me. There's some real problems with what that particular person. Okay, last example, I promise. We put a brand new garage door. He wrote it up because I didn't have it tight, okay? I put a new back door on this part. I didn't have a particular clamp type. Brand new garage door. You can read the paperwork. You need to replace this door or do something with it. I put a new back door. He writes it up. Okay, this was going on with the other properties that I tore down. I finally threw my hands up and said, we'll just tear everything down. But this was going on for years. I know you said this is going on for, but now we know it's a particular inspector that's not been fair. And we have the documentation. I would hope this council would look into it. I hope no. I forgive people. I just want this resolved before it puts any more stress on me and my family. That's it. Have a wonderful 4th of July and smile, and I hope we can continue to work this out. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. All right. Okay, any city officials this evening? Mr. Mott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to personally come up and thank all the members of council tonight for working on Resolution 2253. That was so important. It's a great economic development project that we're working with Kroger on. You're allowing this to be amended to waive the 2-day reading rule, to waive the 30-day waiting period after signatures and votes. Just picked up 44 days for Kroger to continue on this project. In today's day and age, that's a big deal, 44 days. So personally, I wanted to thank you. And that sends a good message too. Newark is pro-business and is willing to work with our partners, our corporate partners, when they need the help. So thank you very
Aren't
much.
they doubling the size of that building?
35,000 additional square feet is what it'll take, but it's a $70 million economic development project for the city of Newark. And they've been in town with us since 1978. Great business partner. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. Any other city officials? Like to say something for your dad? Law Director Moore.
This is, by the way, Jenna Hotchkiss. Yeah. I was trying to choose people who mispronounce it wrong all the time. So make sure I'm right. She's interning in our office right now. So she's here to serve the other side of the law director's office. She's seen the criminal court side. So yes. I was out for the concerts this week, and I was amazed at how many there actually were. I observed Bruce on the River. I observed Newark Station. I also observed a concert off of 11th Street. Towns, yeah. So I want to thank the citizens for the invite out to come on to the property to see what that was like. That was definitely a learning experience, and I appreciate that. You know, when you're sitting up here with council members and we're trying to write a law, there's nothing like personal experience to kind of understand where the citizens are coming from, see where the businesses are trying to do and try to come to a resolution so that we can have businesses and events in the city, but also that everybody's a good neighbor to everybody, including businesses. So I appreciate you allowing me to come out there and take a listen. Linda, I can talk to you a little bit more about this. I think there's some confusion as to how the money's been given out. But I will say that everybody on that committee has been in some way impacted by the opioid epidemic. So we're not losing sight of that, but I will let you know how the process for that, I think, is a little different than what people think. So But that'll pass. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Moore. Mr. Labutus?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I need to call a safety committee meeting for July 5th. I also want to thank residents for allowing us to come out and listen to Cruise on the River. I stopped a couple of residents on the south side, made my way over to the station. I was able to hear some of the noise coming from both of those. So again, thank you for the invite. I would have a lot of more efforts on that as far as trying to get something together so that that can be effective and you don't have to put up with those noises. Also want to congratulate our Newark PD for the Hope Behind the Badge event that they just did this past Saturday. A couple of us were able to make it out, did a fantastic job. Councilman Harris broke 9 miles per hour on the speed gun. Running across the parking lot, so you can see that on Facebook. But congratulations to him, but it was a great event, a great community outreach for them as well. We had quite a few families that were coming throughout that 4-hour time frame. And finally, I hope everyone has a great Independence Day in a couple weeks and enjoy this country, the freedoms that we have, and living in the best country in the world. That I will pass.
Mr. Labutus? Mr. Lang?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to highlight the 77th Shrine Tournament is wrapping up this week. My son was finally old enough to play, so we got to experience that a little bit. It was a lot of fun. Wanted to congratulate their 4 North Newark Little League teams in the finals. PMB and Medben are playing tonight in the finals, and then on Thursday, Edward Jones and Mattingly Landscape in the varsity division. So congrats to all the finalists, and hope the tournament has a fantastic finish, and it's been a good one so far. That'll pass.
Always fun. What is that, about 70?
77.
77, yeah. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Mr. President. Need to call a finance committee meeting for July the 5th. I just want to thank everyone this evening who's come out and voiced their concerns. A lot of what the concerns are that were voiced were either A, working on already with the noise ordinance, or B, some of them, it's just a matter of that the Newark Police Department needs to be aware of if folks are riding 4-wheelers recklessly or something like that. So the first step on that is just have that they need to call the dispatch and call the police on that. Now, it may not be as high a priority. They may or may not get there because there are a lot of priorities in the city of Newark and they do prioritize those things, but they will eventually get up there and at least take a report of some kind. But every time you report it, it kind of tracks timing. So therefore, if we report it 3 or 4 times, we can see a pattern of timing, then the NPD can maybe establish something where they could be around there. So definitely report those items, those times. The speeding, it is difficult, and I even know the children that play signs aren't as if folks are speeding, they ignore those also. So again, the NPD sometimes putting the trailer out there for a little while, ask for the trailer, the speed trailer that shows the speed limit. It slows them down, deters them a little bit. The other thing is it's a benefit and a curse when you go to newly paved road. So I know Jefferson, Pearson, when it was paved, they had pothole after pothole, and all of a sudden they got it freshly paved, and they're like, we want our potholes back because it slowed down the traffic. So, but yeah, just again, it's one of those things where it does help out to do that. And with that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Marmy. Mr. Rath?
Thank you. I want to call a service committee meeting for Tuesday, July 5th. I also went to the Hope Behind the Badge event. That was a great event. Brought my grandkids down there. We were down there for a couple hours actually, and there was a great steady flow of people in and out of there. So that was a very, very good event for its first one. Appreciate Mr. Bruder, the invite to come down and talk with you. I knew there'd be a lot of people down there. Unfortunately, I already had a commitment out of town on that night, so I wasn't able to make it. But can certainly empathize with you. I was down there the last concert they had. I know what you're dealing with, and we're working on it. That all pass.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. Mr. Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. And I know I appreciate it. We all appreciate you coming out. You're on the right path. I'm sorry I didn't make it out. I'm gonna make my rounds this weekend. I don't think there's a concert at Bruce on the River, but the next one I will be there. So I had a buddy that lives on Summit, so I'll go down there and that'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Mr. Parker?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, just everybody who came out, and Mr. Brewer, thank you for having us to your home the other night. It was good to see on a firsthand basis what you're all dealing with and being able to hear it, even though I know when we were on Summit Street, they told us this is a lot quieter than what it normally is. So we kind of wondered if they might have known that we were going to be specifically listening that night. You never know. But I know the law director has had a couple meetings. She's working diligently with members of council on this noise ordinance. So it's something that hopefully we can bring to a committee meeting soon. And I would like to give a thank you to Joe Paul in property maintenance. He's been really, we've had some property maintenance issues. He's been on top of them with the inspectors. And they're just simple issues that can be cleaned up. And we're working with those property owners on there. And so I can't thank him and his department enough for what they do with their work every day. With that, Mr. President, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Ms. Blind?
I said, thank you, Mr. President. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight who had concerns about the noise ordinance. I'd also like to thank our law director for being very strategic in this. Because instead of just saying, well, just let's come and complain, you know, she's been very transparent in giving specific instructions about how data that's taken can be specific by using your phone to record what's happening, you know, what's happening in your house, what's happening, you know, to yourself, what's happening to your animals. And likewise, with the decibel meter going out with Officer Lake or Sergeant? Officer Lake. And that made that data measurable. It was beyond the realm of opinion. And when you have data in a situation, things change. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity in the police department pursuing that. And in this process, we can set realistic and time-driven expectations on and building it at the front of this noise ordinance to have a positive means to an end, like the law director said, to where we have a good neighbor policy. It was good for everyone because, you know, one of the things that I've noticed consistently is that people like, they want to support local businesses, but they want the businesses to support them too. And so there's nothing like having a great community, but I'd like to thank you for doing that. We are diligently working on that, but changing lanes, I'd like to wish Miss Mossler happy birthday. Happy birthday. And I would like to thank Joe Paul. He has taken care of some really big things as of late. And it's been a help to a lot of citizens. And I'd also like to thank AEP. They have a huge chunk of work on their plate. And I was speaking to Service Director Rose, there's been some irregularities lately. And my goodness, they've been dealing with storms and just that recovery time. You know, sometimes it takes a minute. So, and I'd like to thank with Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Hotchkiss for helping so much in the beautification of South Newark by offering paint and picking up those crazy chairs and mattresses that people throw alongside the road. You know, they just don't disappear on their own. The Parks Department cleans it up, and I'm very grateful for that. And one last thing, two actually, that I've gotten great feedback from citizens on the NewarkPD.com website. You can dial in and you can file your complaint and be specific about it. And then you can request a call from an officer. I've been hearing from citizens who've been using that, saying, you know what, Beth, they got back to me, and now there's a plan for my corner of the world. and they're really happy with it. So thank you to those who've been pursuing that. And I also like to thank all those who are participating in the new kids camp in South Newark. It has been a great success. It's not city-based, but folks from the city have come in and given them their resources. The American Legion have come in to show what patriotism and flag responsibility may look like. And the Y has been very generous in giving swim passes. So last Friday we had 40, and so that was just wonderful. So I'm looking forward to every week as it continues to grow. So, and thank you to Little Texas Ministries who've been instrumental in founding school. With that, someone else can have a turn.
Thank you, Ms. Blind. You're only 45 seconds over time.
I know.
Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to thank Mr. Brenner and everybody for the invite, and it was an eye-opening, and just want you guys to know that we're working on it. I also want to say the hope behind the badge was it was a pretty fun day. Like Mr. Rapp said, there was a lot of kids in and out, and it was a pretty cool thing that they hit on. Want to wish Councilman Hauser and his wife 1-year anniversary of marriage. Congratulations. And happy 4th of July, everybody. And one last thing is Saturday, just want to remind everybody, 6 months from Saturday, it's Christmas. So enjoy the rest of the summer. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Sure. All right. Well, I'm gonna be very brief. I'm not gonna say what's been said already. Ditto. But one thing I did want to say that hasn't been mentioned is I want to thank the Charter Review Commission. Tim, thank you, Law Director. I'm not sure if any of the members are here, but although you might think it's very minor, the changes, it's actually really important. I was on the Charter Review Commission when it first got adopted many years ago, let's say that. And thankfully, our city has a charter because we're able to tweak and craft things that are beneficial to us. If not, we have to go by the Ohio Revised Code, which everybody has to go by if you're signed up there. So I just want to say thank you. And I don't, your work does not go unappreciated. I sat in your shoes, and so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Audie. What was that one? 1950?
Shush.
Mr. Hauser, by the way, in July 5th, I'm going to wear probably a navy blue.
I'll make sure that I match. All right.
It's maybe blue night, so I have it right.
Fourth of July, yes. Let's do something red, white, blue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Happy
President.
anniversary.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I want to thank Joe Paul as well. I know a couple people thank him. He also past couple weeks, so I appreciate that. Also, the hope behind the badge event, great event. I did not get to witness Mr. or Councilman Harris run 9 miles per hour, but I wish I did. I know there's a video on Facebook, so you guys can all check that out. So,
North Police Facebook page too.
and it's like, yeah, I just want to thank the New York Police Department. It's great to have a police department that wants to connect with the community. So that was a great event. Only planned on staying there about 30 minutes, but I know we stayed there a lot longer than that because it was such a great event. Also want to thank you guys for the invitations to come out and listen to all the sound. As everyone else has said, it was good education on that. I can understand why it's definitely a bother to me and a concern to me to take care of. I know we're working on it, so.
Thank you, Charlie. They mentioned something about you having pizza and beer next time. So. I'd like to just add my thanks to everyone who came this evening and spoke. I mean, that's always important. We'd love to hear from you. So come and give us your opinion. That's the only way we know about some things. I'd want to just like to say have a happy and safe 4th. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Barker, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All same sign. That